Hey everyone, welcome to another video update. Today I wanted to talk about some things that happened since the last progress video was posted, and I also wanted to talk about recent progress that has happened so far. There's a lot that's taken place since the last video was posted. I got busy with the holidays and kind of got frustrated and burnt out by some issues that I ran into when making the game, so I took a bit of a hiatus, and I still worked on the game off and on, but I really got held up by some issues which have been figured out, and lately progress has really been moving along smoothly. I did add 2 people onto the project, and they're helping with things like computer scripting or anything else they want to help out with. We created a Discord server which is really taking off. It has about 93 to 94 members so far, and of course anyone is welcome to join if they want to stay up to date on progress with the game, or if they want to talk to the developers, if they want to share ideas, or even just talk to other members of the community who are following the project. If you want to join, just send me a message either on YouTube or on the forum topic and let me know, and I'll send you the invite link. And of course we have an off-topic channel too, so if you want you can join and just talk about whatever, and you'll also be updated on recent progress with the game. The avatar model is also changed, as you can see, and I know a lot of people are loathing right now looking at this. This is a placeholder, guys. It is not the final design. Please stop sending me the messages. This is just a placeholder. It's meant to be a point of reference for development purposes. I'll change it later, and this will probably stay for the pre-alpha and maybe for a pre-alpha demo if we release it. But yeah, this is a placeholder. It's not the final design, and I am going to rescale it. It is a bit too tall. I would like to make the proportions fit more to like a Lego minifig, and it does have some animations that are set up. You can raise one or both arms. You can also look up and down, which is locked. And this is actually one of the issues that I ran into, was getting these different animations to play at the same time. But that, you can see, is working great. You can jump, and all these animations are playing independently. Unity has an option built in which allows you to assign various bones for the animations relative to each animation itself, which is how I was able to fix that issue. But yeah, he can walk around, he can run. And actually, let me show the player camera real quick. There we go. So you can see what he's seeing in real time. You can switch to third person, and you can even move the head around when you're in third person. And there's a couple of other animations I would like to add eventually, such as being able to strafe, walk backwards, and maybe like sitting, laying prone, and a couple others like that. One thing I forgot to mention is that the team and I have completely started over from scratch. We are also now working exclusively in C# rather than both in JavaScript and C#. And also a lot of the things I showed off in the last video won't be seen in this one, and that's just because I haven't added them back in yet. But they will be added back in eventually. One thing that has been brought back is the script for the floor grid, which I'm standing on right now. And the floor grid was recently updated to be as fast and efficient as possible and to put minimal strain on the main thread of the game. And it also has been updated to support physics objects that use rigid bodies. And I have an example of that set up over here. This is going to be useful later on for when break physics are added. So if I enable physics, you can see them interact with the floor grid. And if I reduce the size of the grid, you can see them fall into oblivion, which is always fun. For now, I'm using a very simple script for building, which just moves the cube around relative to where I'm looking. And again, I'll add the actual build controls back in later. I also had to remove the custom shaders I was using due to an issue that came up, so I'm currently working on fixing that. For the time being, I'm just going to use Unity's default diffuse shader. However, I did update the materials for the bricks. I added new textures and also new normal and height maps, and I also updated the bottom texture, and they give a much better illusion of 3D geometry, even using this default shader. And one cool feature with Unity, and I'm sure with other game engines as well, is that the in-game real-time lighting will affect the textures as if they're three-dimensional, even though they're only two-dimensional. So if I rotate the sun here, you can see how the brick studs are affected. And this also works for the bottom face as well. If I change the sun's elevation, you can see it affect the bottom face as if it actually had depth. So one thing I haven't shown off before, but have briefly talked about on Discord and the forum topic, is the brick grid in Octree system. And let me plant a brick real quick over here. And as I do, you'll see various colored wireframe meshes. White represents the Octree itself, and the colored wireframe represents the brick grid, which gets added into the Octree once the brick is planted. The brick grid handles how bricks interact with each other. It prevents certain bricks from being planted within other bricks, and it allows you to connect them in certain ways. The red condition here, the red meshes, they represent where bricks can't be planted inside, on top of, or underneath. Yellow allows bricks to be planted on top of, but not underneath or inside. And blue, it allows you to plant bricks underneath, but not on top or inside. And I'm paying a lot of attention. There's a lot of focus being put into how bricks are actually made. I want to make brick creation to be as simple and easy as possible, not only for developers, but also for third-party content creators. And in terms of setting up, I'll get into that later, but in terms of setting up the brick grid, it's very simple. You just set up an overall mesh that handles the condition. Like here for yellow, I just set up one large plate, as well for blue, and then I set up another large mesh for the red condition, and the game actually broke that up and grouped it relative to the Octree based on where it was planted. It took care of all that for me. So yeah, I wanted it to be as simple as possible. And for those who don't know, in Octree, let me zoom out here. It's a little hard to see, but an Octree is a very efficient way of storing and retrieving data. It is a tree-based data structure and spatial accelerator. I'm using it to handle the brick grid for bricks, and I'm actually using a voxel system, which you've seen featured in games like Minecraft. I'm using it in this game to handle the brick grid conditions, and even to group together similar conditions to save on space. And one advantage of the Octree system is that it handles the meshes, which appear three-dimensional. It actually handles them as one-dimensional nodes. So it's very fast, very efficient, and it is a bit calculation intensive. When bricks were planted, it did slow down the main thread of the game quite a bit, but I figured out a way to detach those functions from the main thread of the game, so as bricks are planted, it doesn't cause the game to freeze whatsoever. Also, the Octree is now infinite in size. So if I say plant a brick way out here, the Octree automatically expands itself and takes that new brick into account while preserving the old data. And it'll expand, it'll basically double its size as much as needed infinitely, so there's no limit on how large the tree will grow. but it's also, due to how it works, it's still very efficient no matter how large it gets. Now just zoom in here so you can get a better idea of what it looks like. You can see the various subdivisions, as each cell will constantly subdivide itself into octants within a certain limit relative to the plate size of bricks themselves. And the script actually uses recursion. It's a very simple script. It was a challenge to figure out and to get working, but as you see, it is working quite well. And that's basically it for this update. Getting the Octrees to work correctly did take a while, so I don't have too much to show off, but next week I would like to get into adding back building controls, support for rotating bricks, because that changes how the brick grid is affected for the Octree, how when bricks are deleted, how the Octree is updated, adjacent face occlusion, and that basically reduces how many faces the mesh overall has to render as more bricks are added, based on faces that are next to each other and if they hide those faces. And I also want to add a script that will actually check brick grid conditions before planting the brick, so that hasn't been implemented just yet. Alright guys, that's it for this update. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for some really awesome future updates. Till next time.